And we're live. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
So, Kieran, what did we do last time?
Last time we got this feature parsing into a feature node. And we got this feature parsing into a feature node that contains a scenario.
Yeah.
Is it?
This is like a drawn owl exercise thing.
Yeah. So now we just complete Gherkin. I think I've got a to-do for that. Here.
Excellent.
So we've got different routes we can go. Shall I recap the code we wrote? We have a, let's step through it. We've got a Gherkin parser that looks for a feature followed by end of file. Got a feature parser that looks for the feature keyword and its bits followed by many scenarios. Got a scenario parser that finds the scenario keyword followed by some text. And
maps all of that into AST objects.
Yeah, and they both use keyword concept, which is a string maybe followed by a colon or some concept, which I haven't put a comment here yet explaining what it is. What's a comment? Token. Token's something surrounded by white space, right?
Yes.
Okay. And they both use this idea of a text line, which is if you've parsed something like the keyword at the start of a line, you probably want to consume sort of the trimmed rest of line.
Yeah.
So is there a duplication between that and token? Are they doing the same thing?
No, token. Duplication between text line and token.
Is that just the trimming here?
Oh, that trimming.
And this kind of find the stuff. It feels maybe like maybe there's a refactor there.
Maybe. Well, it won't hurt either, so.
Maybe that's too dry.
But yeah, we can put a comment there and then come back to that later.
Yeah. I'm going to get rid of that comment. So what should we do next? There's a few routes we could go. An obvious one is the given when then.
Yeah, I think that fits with our earlier idea of trying to get a minimum viable parser going. So there's lots of stuff that makes this not production worthy because of maybe, unnecessary, well, if there's white space and I don't know, longer descriptions and all of that stuff, but you don't need that to write a test. So let's try to get given when then working. And I think we're close.
So we're going to get to this minimum viable product, and maybe we should focus on stuff that's going to be interesting rather than useful, like the interesting things to do with the parser.
Okay.
Hang on. Why are we doing this again?
Well, because if you can if we can rebuild the whole Gherkin parser with Parsica, it will be easier to make changes to it because it will be a lot more lean and readable than the old parser, which is imperative code. And then you can start adding features and moving it to be more compatible with existing Cucumber parsers.
We're also trying to discover improvements to Parsica, right?
Yes. And just having some fun.
Yeah, so maybe we should, let's do the given when then. Yeah. Maybe we should do stuff that we think might be tricky rather than the easy stuff.
If you want tricky, I've been working on trying to do expression parsers, but that's not something we need for Gherkin, I think. At least not early on. But that's a whole different thing. Let's try the given when thens.
What do you think about putting it into the feature versus having another file?
Why not a new file? I mean, this is a new test, a new thing we're trying to.
Well, I sort of think about it as what would I want to have as a reader? The reader which would be most useful to me. A set of examples all in one place, or like
something about the given when thens. So it's a scenario with given when thens or something.
Call them steps.
Yeah. So that's not an empty one.
No, redo. Oh God, I changed this title. That's what I'm thinking about. Change it back. So a new one. In a given step, when step, then a then step. Right? The test.
Yeah.
Two failures.
Yeah, because you changed the title in 002.
That's not failing because we're looking at the echelon files first, and then we're looking at the scenarios. We're not picking up when they're both.
Well, shouldn't it fail if it cannot find the echelon file?
It does it the other way around. We can change that.
Right. So it looks okay. Yeah, I get it now. It looks for echelon files. Yeah. Okay.
This will happen again.
Yeah.
So maybe I should change the test. It's this one. It looks at the echelons and then it finds the features. So I can do instead find all the features. So rename that would be better name. Call it features. Then replace features feature with echelons. YAML or YML? YML. And then this would go the other way around, right? Still works.
Yeah. So So we need to change the YAML file.
And also, what confused me just then was it was the old parsers tests were failing. So that's interesting. Our test passes. The new parser parses it into a thing that has a scenario with no steps. The old parser picks up the steps.
Yeah.
Does that make sense to you?
Wait, but it's because our YAML file is wrong.
Yeah.
That's why it's failing, right?
Well, the YAML file's right for the new parser and wrong for the old parser.
Yeah, but the new parser is wrong. So
yeah, it's wrong. Yeah. So let me look at an example of how this should look from the old tests. Yeah. So we need to have some steps in there. So I'm still waking up. So that has to have some steps, and we're expecting a given There's the feature. So it's given a given step on line 3. When step.
Another way to do this, if we want to do a lot more of this, would be to have the old parser parse the feature and then generate the YAML, write that, and then use that to test the new one.
Yeah, well, to be honest, we wouldn't need the YAML, would we?
True, but then you can persist the outcome.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, if you then were to make changes in both, then you wouldn't know what you're doing anymore.
See, we have a YAML file loader, but I don't think we'd have to write a YAML file writer.
Yeah, which would be trivial, but I don't think we should bother with that now.
So this should pass.
For Gherkin, it should pass, and it should fail for Parsica.
Yep.
Oh, I think you swapped the arguments to array map.
Yeah, okay. In here.
Yeah, so there are 35, you moved features up, which doesn't make sense.
Yeah. What do I need to swap around then? What do I need to swap around? Is it?
Oh.
Yeah, it's this, isn't it? What am I doing? So find all the feet. Previously it was finding all the YAMLs.
So it's finding all the features. It's making, it's mapping them to a list of YAMLs, and then returning the.
So I just need to change this to 1, don't I?
Yeah. I don't think that matters.
This is a list of files. We're producing a list of, what is this as tuples?
Oh, you need to, so if you want everything else to work, I think the tuple needs to, you need to swap the two values in that tuple.
Let's go back to the beginning, right? This is what we have.
Because yeah, so your tuple is the feature file followed by the YAML file, and the new version is the
right. So what I need to do? Okay, I need to do this bit.
Yeah. This bit. So you turn this into features. That means and then you need to swap those two.
And then that's okay, isn't it? I just swapped in the wrong place.
Yeah.
So
why is everything passing now?
It's always suspicious when tests pass, isn't it? This is what we would expect. So it's failing on. Oh, I should be running the tests in PHP Storm, right?
I don't recall if you got that working eventually, but
yeah, we did.
Okay.
Get a nicer diff, right? When it's a diff thing. So the parser's failing on the first step.
Yeah. All right, then we need to add steps, right? So well, what we could do is write a unit test now to test a step in isolation, and then it's just sort of composing steps with the other stuff.
Yeah, good idea. What?
Yeah, just in test class. So go down 2 fields and write
Oh, yeah.
step.
I always miss the word optional and feel like I have to fill it all in.
Yeah. And you'll need to change your namespace.
Okay, so it's running. Yeah, PHP unit doesn't really care.
True. So yeah, let's add a test for a single step.
So this is where I don't know what the smallest possible step is. I think we established on a previous session, the keyword has to be followed by a space.
Yes. So but we already have keywords, so it's well, I would write so the input is going to be a line with given something.
I did it, yeah, yeah. So it can be quite trivial, right?
Yeah.
Let me just check something about how Gherkin works. Yeah, there's just step nodes. Yeah, they're just step nodes. They're not different. So we need to check it works with given, when, and then, I guess.
Yeah, but that would be once we have given. Oh, is that legal in empty? Okay.
Yeah, we've tried it out before.
Yeah, then I would name this test, it parses an empty step.
What's the expectation? A new step node.
Yeah.
What's the keystroke for triggering the tooltip?
I don't know. It just comes when I need it.
Yeah, sometimes you just have to wait. Arguments.
Just have to trust in the force, and then it comes to you.
Arguments.
The text, but that would be empty. Oh, arguments. Argument interface. Well, isn't that because you in Gherkin you have given I have 12 things, then the 12 becomes an argument to that step. That's probably what this is about, right?
That's interesting. There's a few places where these things, they're not really like value objects.
Oh.
So, this implies the existence of. How would you know? We're going to have to parse that placeholder sync. No. Okay. Yeah, I understand how it works now. We sometimes generate the patterns from the step. And in those cases, there's a concept of arguments. When you're matching a pattern to a step, it's kind of the pattern is deciding which things are placeholders. Do you know what I mean? Given I have X bananas, that's a property of the pattern. The step will say, given I have 3 bananas. So what's puzzling me is how. So there must be some logic where Gherkin decides some things in the step look like replaceable values. It's probably integers and things in quotation marks.
Yeah, I thought, yeah, and probably floats and stuff as well. And then that's how I assumed it worked, right? It's numbers and string literals in quotes.
I kind of like to get rid of that. because people using Gherkin think they have to put any string literals in quotes, and they don't. You know, if you're writing the step, you don't have to quote all that stuff just for the parser.
Right, because when you write the step, you write a regex and you can exclude, match and stuff. Sure. So
this is probably just for when we generate the patterns. There's a thing where you can generate the snippets. So let's leave it empty for now. The to-do in there. How do I get the tooltip? I delete that comma and type it again and wait. Yeah. And the line, we don't have a good way of doing that, do we?
No, we still don't.
And we have a keyword type. The default's to given. So I guess, so this would be the translated.
Right, and then
and this would be, what is it really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you think there's a reason why there isn't like a given step note and a when step note, or is that just historical? Or
yeah, I don't even know what that's really used for. Again, that'll be for generation. It's not really meaningful in
right.
what we use it for. It's when we generate the pattern, it's at given rather than when or then.
Yeah.
Again, when you actually run at runs, not caring which one it is. I don't think. So we assert parse, right? Assert parses. Input. Selected.
No, it's the parser first.
Get that wrong. We need a parser, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we need a parser. That's what we're doing. So it's that would just be a step. Well, we don't know if step or parser given or something else, so we don't need any arguments, I think.
Well, we don't have arguments for scenario and keywords, so it makes sense for it not to. I guess at some point, I guess for translations, you would need to start passing something. Or is that part of a parser context?
Yeah, that's, well, the one possibility is to have like a parser state which you can pass around. Well, the parser takes care of it, and then you just start your parser, give it state which includes the dictionary or whatever you call that, and then. But that's not an MVP feature, right? So let's make a step function.
What's a nice logic feature scenario? Should I make these? Should I reorder this?
If you like.
I'm not using global functions in a file, so I'll take your guidance on what the best practices are.
I don't know, but well, so if this is like what we could do at some point is just move all these functions into static functions inside the class, and then that gives us a little bit more control over visibility. And then you could say, well, and then that's sort of the interesting thing, right? You could only expose the Gherkin static method because in a sense everything else is private. However, by exposing everything, or at least some valuable subset of things, you actually give a third-party user access to these things, and people could use it to compose their own parsers using the parsers from your library. Which, for example, I did this with the JSON parser as well. You could use the different bits of the JSON parser and make your own JSON parser that supports comments, for example, with very little effort, without having to fork the whole thing. You just extend it.
And without you having to have some like DI mechanism where someone can insert their own replacement components. It's not exactly. Like giving them all the tools and saying, put it together.
Here's a bunch of small parsers. We compose them into this Gherkin parser, but you can recompose them into this variation of a Gherkin parser that maybe suits your needs. So you could theoretically take this as far as, let people define You could turn this into a DSL for testing DSLs. So
Yeah.
you're basically writing, you're giving people a toolkit. They can write their own language for how they want to write their tests, and then write their tests in that DSL, and then have Behat as sort of a test runner kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't worry about any of that now, and just
No,
write
it's interesting.
this stuff, of course.
So what is it that we're not? What's the difference between that and a sort of typical? The way Behat does it,
Yeah,
is it exposes to extensions the entire, Symfony DI container. So I guess the difference is that Behat has all the components, and then it's saying, and here is our configuration of those components.
Yeah.
You can edit that. You can edit that position.
Yeah.
Through Symfony's, stuff.
Yeah, but the parser itself, the Gherkin parser in Behat, is sort of a black box, right? You cannot really. Well, I don't know. I haven't looked at it in detail, but
no, you could.
You'd have to sort of replace the whole thing.
Not no. No. The parser probably is. Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
I mean, you could if this is not a final class, you could extend it and then override some stuff, but you'd still be sort of very dependent on the implementation of how it works in order to extend it.
Yeah. So for this to pass, we just need to have a given keyword and map it, right?
Yeah, I think so. And that one uses token insights already, so it would deal with the space.
This would be
and so we need a step node. So that's that's the output here would simply be the keyword itself. So it would be the x is the string given here.
And that was the first thing.
It's empty list and the keyword again, if I'm not mistaken.
Is anyone watching the stream? Maybe they can
talk. A couple of people are watching.
If any of them know how to make PHP Storm, tell me what the next parameter is. Oh, that's why. I bet it'll start working now. Here we go.
Oh, the line. Yeah, I forgot about that.
I'm going to hard code the line.
Sure.
So we're going to have to add another sort of filter out the lines step in our tests. Oh, it's telling me about it. Oh yeah, you don't need a semicolon with short arrows. And that's the case. Oh my God, he's gone.
No, I'm back.
That needs importing. Oh, run it inside the thing.
And that's still the bigger test that's failing, right? But is our this one is working, right? It has a little green. No, that's the one where we do the feature file. So that's supposed to fail.
Yes, you're right. I should run it here, and then everything will be clear.
But the arrow is green. That's how I knew that it was already working.
Yeah. Okay, and then one with text in.
And now you can turn on the auto. Well, doesn't matter. So yeah, with some text.
Text. What do we call that?
Or text line is sort of the.
Good, as expected. We need to collect this. So it's not just the keyword, is it? Is it collect?
Yeah. So and then keyword and then followed by a text line.
Hang on, you know, like baby steps.
You need to replace keyword at the end as well.
Oh, I could just be copying the line above. So do you think that's a concept, this keyword followed by text?
I
don't want to pattern match on the.
You mean that this, because we're doing the same thing as a scenario, and yeah, maybe, but like
seems to pop up a lot.
Sure, but it's almost as short as we can get it, right? Now it says keyword scenario with a colon and a text line. Reducing that any further would not clarify it. It would have the same. The name of that function would be basically a keyword with or without a colon and a text line.
Yeah, I'll buy that. I'll buy that. Okay.
Excellent.
We
need to make it work for other step types. Or did you have something else in mind first?
No, that makes sense. I was thinking about popping back up to the higher level test, but
yeah, but that one has more than has like 3 different steps, so those are still units we haven't tested.
Do you want to do like a data provider thing? Maybe you could turn this into a data provider to test. Or this one.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's worth the effort. Like I start doing that when I really know I'm going to do like lots of examples. But yeah, I don't know, matter of taste, I guess. Feel free to do it. I wish there was an easier way, like an automated refactor, like turn this test into a test with a data provider. Then I would use it all the time. Anybody from JetBrains in the live stream? I have a feature request.
The presence of the keyword twice is when it's going to be get interesting when we have translation. More interesting. So we need a sort of one of, right? One of?
No, that's going to be characters choice. But that's not going to work inside keyword because you're supposed to pass a string here, another parser. But you can wrap keywords. So what you could do is, yeah, I would just extract that first. Make that step type or something.
This bit?
Yeah.
Step type.
Yeah, step type.
Step keyword.
Okay. And then wrap that in choice.
Here?
Yeah.
Oh, I see. And then we're going to have a list of 3 of these.
Yeah. Well, and is valid as well, right?
Let's talk about it in a moment. Yeah, and but. Oh. Something I need to check, but I suspect what happens is
if you have and, it turns it into given. If it's after a given.
Yeah. maybe.
Let's make this work and then worry about that.
I need to check the behavior on the. What am I doing? I want to go back to the test. Okay, everything passes. To check the behavior, right. Let's get the acceptance test passing.
Yeah.
And then we can add that kind of thing on the acceptance test because I'm interested.
Yeah, that's a new acceptance test, right?
Yeah, because then we're kind of interested in what the old parser does.
Yeah. Also, I would argue it's not an MVP feature, but it's an interesting one. So let's do it for that reason. The and the but, yeah.
Well, by that logic, we were about to hit MVP anyway. Okay, so it doesn't compose the. This isn't used in the scenario. So one of these things is the step nodes. It's the first, the second array. So this one is the step nodes. So we want.
So the text line is followed by 0 or more steps. So I think we can write.
You taught me last time. Many means 0.
Yeah. No, I'm confused myself, but
we used it here.
Yeah, that's probably right.
What's the confusion?
I'm sorry?
What's the confusion?
No, I'm just confusing myself. Don't worry about it. It happens. It's when it starts to go. When I start thinking, then it starts going wrong. Then I get confused. So if yeah, let's replace the thinking with TDD and just run this and see what happens.
If we put one or more there, it would fail on the empty scenario.
Yes.
And many means 0 or more.
Yes. And so there's many and some. So many is 0 or more, some is 1 or more, and then there's another one, at least one, which is which composes a string. This one composes or creates an array of steps. That's the difference.
Oh, I didn't map.
You didn't inject it in the mapping, I guess.
Yeah.
So that would be output 2.
We need those labels.
I know.
I'll find the bit in your repository and put a thumbs up, bump. The lines. So it's working. It's working, but the test has to have an ugly hack in it. So this needs to be where we make all of their lines line 1. Good job these objects have all these getters. So let's get keyword. Text. Why is that not auto-completing? That needs to be imported. Arguments. Stupid thing. be null. That's weird. So the line I'm going to replace with 1. Right. Test passes. What's going to be a good next thing? We haven't actually tested multiple scenarios. We're just trusting that it works because many works.
Yeah, you can make OO2B with multiple scenarios.
I'm just going to build it into OO2.
We'll need to change the YAML as well.
Let's see it fail. So we are getting a second node out. Yeah, do I just click? Get fancy. Just works. What's next? We've got some options. We could look at the and but.
Yeah, seems like an interesting one.
We could look at white space again. We could look
less interesting.
We could look at the arguments thing, which seems interesting.
Yeah, definitely. I think, well, let's do the and the but and see how difficult that is.
I think the arguments might break our text line concept a little.
Yeah, but that's that makes sense because yeah, we're going to have probably two kinds of text lines because scenario doesn't support arguments, right? It's only the steps that do. So, but that's fine. Then we can, that this is one of the reasons why it was probably premature when you said, "Hey, is this a concept?"
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I didn't know if it was premature, but I was like feeling we should hold off on this.
So this existing addition example has an and. Should we do the ands and buts?
Yeah.
It has an and I just want to see in its YAML. Yeah.
So it knows it's a given type, that the keyword type is given and that the type is and. And so it only uses the type. That's like I think type here means human readable thing because that's the bit that's going to be translated, right? And then keyword type is meaning. So there's probably some legacy language because it would have been better if the first thing was called type and the second thing was called human readable label or something.
Yeah, and another clue is that this is the last parameter of the thing of the constructor, and it can be null. So it
can be null. Why?
Because it was added later. So it's got an optional, that optional thing.
Yeah. Yeah, but why? Like it sounds like even though it was added later, it was optional, probably as a refactoring thing. It sounds like things will break if that is actually null, or that there might be tests elsewhere for that.
That's why get keyword type.
Yeah, these return strings. So well, the type checker doesn't care. But if this was, if you were to if you were to add a return type to get keyword. If it's null, yeah. So, well, if it's this, then I don't understand why on line 52 it's default null as opposed to just default given.
Because it was a published package and people are consuming it, and you can't just add a parameter without breaking everyone.
Yeah, but you can add a parameter with a default value, and here it says if the
Okay.
default value is, unless, no, wait, null is still accepted here because, no, the test on 67 would fail if
I can tell you why.
null.
For backward compatibility reasons, if you did this, then it would no longer. Oh, yeah. There's no scalar type. There's no reason.
Yeah.
If this had a type hint of string, it would make sense. Because no, it still wouldn't make sense. Yeah, there's no reason.
Yeah. But yeah, I think we decided that first we want to be exactly like the Gherkin parser, and then start evolving things, not change and change features at the same time.
Yeah. So this is a long time ago. I think it, like I said, I think it's to do with when we're going backwards and generating the patterns from the steps.
Yeah.
How do I turn that off again? Yeah.
You can, by the way, just right-click on the line numbers to get
What?
turn that feature on and off.
You're so smart on this stuff. You can tell you do actual development.
I don't actually do a lot of development. Well, now with Parsica, I've been doing more, but it's mostly been domain modeling and that sort of stuff. Anyway, this is okay. So, well, do we have no? We don't have a test yet with the ands and the buts, right? So let's
add it into test 3 because they are.
Yeah. Should we commit some stuff first? Because I feel like we have finished a thing.
Oh, what did I just press? That's interesting. I didn't know I had a. What have we got? All that stuff looks reasonable. Yeah. Support steps inside scenarios. Given a given step and another given step, when and how, but make sense to you?
Yeah, and then the expectation is that this is turned into given when then, right? So there's going to be some context of the previous step determines the nature of the next one.
Yeah. So there's nothing about given when and then being in a specific order, which.
No, but there is something about if it's and or but, it inherits the previous.
Yes. Let's run the thing just to check that the old parser thinks this epsilon's right.
Yeah.
What's the quick way of running the entire test suite? Up here somewhere.
Yeah, I think if you dare pick yes. So that's the new one that fails. That's also, wait, do we have two failing ones? It looked like we had two failing tests, but oh, just one. Okay, just printed the error twice, I guess. Or I just, okay.
I just scrolled around.
No, it's me. Yeah.
The old parser was happy.
The old one's happy, yeah. Yeah, let's, so at the level of step, well, let's, no, step can't know what it is anymore. It can only know in context of the other steps, right?
Well,
we need to fix this in any case, that it accepts and but.
Yeah, change the error message. And so should it be a parse error if Should it be a parser if you only have an and? Like there's no previous.
Well, in the nature of, so Gherkin seems to be very accepting of many things. So I'd say if it's only, so if a null is considered a given, which we discovered earlier. So in the same philosophy, I'd say that an end on its own would be a given. So yeah, this is what we expected.
Let me test that by just taking this off temporarily.
Yeah.
See what the old parser test complains about. We should get a diff from it. So this is the old parser test complaining. And this is our parser test now complains. So the expected is give. Oh.
Yeah, but your YAML is still.
Yeah, but the old parser, just ignoring the left-hand side.
Yeah. Okay. The old parser turned the orphan and into a given.
Yes.
Right. So that was, yeah, and that fits, in my opinion, with the philosophy of the parser.
So if we know what the previous context is, we use it. Otherwise, and but should become given.
Yes.
I agree.
So that means we could actually we could here already have like a solution for that part where in our map to step node, by default, we could turn and but into given. So what I would do here is if you Alt Enter on the FN at the start of the line, change it into arrow function, traditional, I mean, and now we can add like an if statement or something if output 0 equals.
I'll just extract this. I think.
Yeah.
Because it's just that occurrence.
Yeah.
Keyword type. If haystack needle. Yeah.
I can never remember.
Yeah. This will turn into a nice turner in a moment. Yeah, keyword type is if it's in the array, given all that stuff.
And if you prefer arrow syntax, you could inline it again, but I think this is more readable.
Yeah, I agree. Let's see if anything changed. Oh, don't hit that. It's okay. 5 errors. Yeah. Needle haystack. Oh no, it is haystack needle. My concept of what a haystack and a needle are was incorrect.
Not a farm boy, city boy.
So, which one's this? This is our one's failing. But maybe the diff is different. Yeah, so our
yeah, because the first one works, of course, because we default to given. The second one should be when, because, well. it's following a when. So yeah, let's. But this is the most I think we can do at the level of our step.
Oh. Yeah, talking while I recover.
What happened? Did it crash?
I think I hit exit.
Okay.
I was closing the window.
Famous last words.
Closing the editor window, and instead of W, I hit Q. Sorry, you were saying, I've got no idea how we're going to solve this next step.
Yeah, so we need to look, so because we can't fix it at the level of our step parser, we need to look one level up, of course, and or many. So right now we use many steps. There's no way in there to sort of pass context around. So and there's no. So this is probably something where having that thing I said about parser state. That would probably be a solution here.
Like the last keyword.
Yeah.
Step type.
Yeah.
So how would that? We would have to. Sorry, I'm interrupting.
Yeah, I'm just sort of thinking out loud. So the way that works in Haskell is actually with a state monad, which we could try to implement ourselves. I've no idea if we can finish this in like the next hour and a half, but it would be fun to try.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of other ways to do this. So look, can you open the step function again? And
step is here.
yeah. So let me just think if we so we collect. Wait, that's the step, and then we use step in the scenario function. So let's go there. So
if we're solving it with state, it would need, so every time we parse a step, we remember the keyword type.
Yeah.
And every scenario, we reset it to given.
Yeah. But so the sort of ugly imperative way would be to have a global state.
Yep.
But that's not the way we would do this in partial combinations are very much an FP concept. Also, there's all kinds of problems, of course, with global state. So, and then the way this would probably look. So let's think.
Do you want to have 5 minutes and then?
Yeah, maybe that would help. Then I can draw it quickly and.
Yeah, I think we know what the. I need a glass of water or something. We
Yeah.
know what
Okay.
the.
Okay. So let's come back in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
All right.
So my go-to approach is obviously some state somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm interested to see how we can do this without global state. See you in
10. All right.
Stop video. So I'm back. I'm going to have a quick look at how the existing parser solves this, because it's going to be a sort of stateful OOE thing. So where's this constructed? Ooh, that looks useful, doesn't it? So this is what we're talking about. It normalizes the step node keyword type by, if it's one of these, and look, whoever wrote this got the in array the right way around. Thank you, Ken, for pointing out which way it comes in the chat. So it keeps an array of all the steps. That makes sense. Where's that bug, Will? Yeah, so zeroed out each scenario. Otherwise, you'd have a problem. Oh, hang on. Hold up. Ah, it's been passed around. Hey.
Hey.
I was just looking at the implementation, and here's what happens. If its keyword type is an and or a but, it looks at the array of steps that it gets passed and figures out what the last one was.
Yeah.
And these are the steps so far in the scenario. So it's quite it's scoped to the scenario.
Yeah.
And Aquamius is screaming in the chat, but I don't know why.
Well, he's Marco, I mean.
He's always screaming about something. Maybe it's when you said monad.
Maybe. Well, the monads are among us. They're secretly in PHP, but you just don't see them. But so where, the thing you just showed, where does it get that array? How? It's because the parser is doing that, I guess, somewhere.
Yeah, it's inside parser. Let me.
Yeah, it's not like in a separate step where, because that would be another solution, right? Where you parse everything, it just finds a bunch of given, and, when, but, etc. And then a next step is sort of cleaning that up, that AST, and saying, whenever we encounter and, let's look at the thing before in the AST. And
so when we parse a scenario, we parse the step node, and then we add it to this list. And because we're in a loop, for each scenario, each step then gets normalized with the list of all the previous steps.
Okay. Well, I wrote a quick test of what I would, what I think I would want this state thing to look like. Mm-hmm. So maybe I could share my screen.
Yeah.
Let me see. Is this readable? So you have any parser, and then it would have combinators that allow you to modify and read state. I think those would be the sort of the two basic ones. This is actually, I'm surprised it doesn't show. Well, I guess it is legal because an arrow function always has a return expression, and this is an expression, so it would return the value of this, but it shouldn't actually return anything because the type of this would actually be why is this complaining now? Because I don't have these, I guess. No, it's not even responding. result is not being used. Anyway, but I'm not sure. Oh, now I can. Yes.
So would that state be scoped to the?
So yeah, you that's the idea. You can scope it at any level where you want. So we'd probably need because wait, could we actually do that? Yeah, I mean here in this example, it sort of suggests that you have one state object that is then global for the whole thing, but it doesn't have to be that way. It could be there could be something where well something like this, for example. I have a parser, and then I say with state parser and some I make some new state thing. So yeah, whatever. I initialize some state, and now the whole parser inside this thing is now scoped to this state object here. And then of course I could have many of these and compose it again. So you could tightly control where the scope is of state. So you would have something like, to make this a bit more concrete or examples, I'd have well, my parser would be something like, I'm just writing some pseudocode, right? So it's a scenario, and then scenario itself is well, it could be, I don't know, like this. Scenario itself is collect. I think we had some stuff, and then you could have with state. This is my many step, and here is my init step state kind of thing. So this is well, or it could even be just a value. Of course, this would be actually this would be given, right? Because we're saying that whatever if we encounter an and first, it's a given, and then every time we encounter here would be a step. We if it's an and I think we'd yeah. Well, we have the state here, right? So we could check if this step, so if the output that we have access to here, if that's an and, then we just take the value from the state. If it's an if it's a given when or then, we replace the state, and it would never get out of this box here.
So our step function would stay the same as it is currently. We're doing the state stuff in this sort of set a layer above.
Yes, because we need access to the other steps, right? So it's I mean, the step function itself would change. Actually, well, we could wrap the step function in this, the one that we have now, because that doesn't change. This is, I think this was something like collect keywords, or did we? Yeah, or step keywords. I think we text line. So and then there's a map. So that doesn't change. So we end the return type of this map is a step node, and we could or we no, actually I think it would make more sense to move that after the modify state, because then we can just swap the values. So you could actually, well, you could do it like this and then read the state again.
Do we need to think about this as state at all, even for this specific problem?
What's the alternative? Oh, okay. So actually,
do a map on the many step.
Yes. Actually, that's entirely correct. We could do so. We have. Let me put that here. So many step. Step already is mapped to a step node, but we could then map this again. Output is now a list of step nodes. And well, this is a function.
Yeah.
And then we do sort of a normalize step nodes kind of thing. Well, actually, it's not a good idea because a step node with a and is not, that's not a valid thing. So we'd have sort of an intermediate,
Yeah.
but we could still do it at the level of, we could have step, which doesn't return a step node, but just the tuple of the keyword and the text line, and then do all of them here. So that would be probably the easiest solution where we don't need to build state monads first.
But do you feel like we'll need state monads later for things like translations?
For translations, well, the alternative will be to just sort of dependency inject our way around it and like pass it around a bit, and we'd have to do a little bit more of basically what the state monad does is do the plumbing for you.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, very nice in languages that that support monads explicitly. I have never tried this in PHP, so I don't know if it would actually look as such because we don't have do blocks and stuff like that. But or for comprehensions if you're a Scala person. But yeah, I think it makes sense to do the mapping approach now.
Okay.
And then separately try and build the state thing as a Parsica feature,
Okay.
and then see if it makes sense to switch it.
Right. So I'll take over the share.
All right.
And we'll do. So we're going to have a sort of. Hang on. I'll do the share first and then we'll talk. So where we have. It's not this step. Hang on. Here's a scenario where we're doing many step.
Yeah. So yeah, let's extract that.
Can we call that steps?
Sure.
Right. Let's just do that quickly. And then steps is going to have a sort of map.
Yeah.
Steps is going to be the thing that maps them into step nodes.
Yeah.
But then within
so
it's going to find something else. Let's just do the refactor.
So something that helps with this stuff for me is I'm using Psalm in Parsica, which is a static type checker in PHP, which allows you to annotate generics. So the type of steps is parser, and then the what you call those brackets? Well, the greater than, less than, and greater than.
What's the correct?
So Psalm at Psalm dash return parser.
Like that?
No, just a space. Parser, yes, like that. And then the return type of this is an array of step node, which, yeah, I think that would be the. And then we could actually use Psalm to verify this everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, PHP should just get generics in PHP 8.
Yeah, it's on the list. It's not happening for 8.
I'm sorry?
It's not happening for PHP 8.
Yeah, I'm not sure why this keeps on getting postponed. Yeah, that's my old.
I think it's the implementation.
Yeah, possibly.
Anyway, freeze is on Thursday this week. So unless a fully implemented generics drops in, it's not happening.
Okay. Too bad. Anyway, so okay, we have many step, and then step doesn't map anymore, right? I think that was the conclusion.
Yeah.
So this whole map would go out, and step is basically the return type, and we can actually annotate that as well. So if you remove this, the return type.
I'm keeping in the collect, am I?
Yes, yes. So the return type of step is now a parser with an array with, or tuple basically, with the keywords to a string, basically a string and another string, right? Because
Like
yeah,
this?
except well, I'm not sure if Psalm. Let me just check that if Psalm can do tuples, because it's not just any array, of course. It's let me just see if I can find that.
So the thing inside the arrows is the return type of the parser, because of the way you've defined the parser.
Yes. Yes. So in a sense, the type of parser is the type of the output of the parser.
Yeah.
Let's see. I found an issue that is in a Psalm that is closed that suggests a number of
I see.
array
So,
types. Maybe I
so
can
because
find
it only
this.
takes T in your template, we can't have two things here, right? We have to have
Yeah.
like we have to
Yeah.
have something, some syntax. Is Aquamius still on the stream? He'll know. He uses that. He loves this stuff.
Let me see. Object like arrays. From what I can find quickly, the way to do it would be to have the 0 and the 1 as wait, how does this work? Return. Okay, let me put that in the chat. So this is the syntax for when your return type must have a foo and a bar key. Must be an array with a foo and a bar key. So we could use this and say it's a parser type with an array with a 0 and a 1. If you catch my drift.
Like this?
Let me switch back to. Yeah, I think that would do it. So it's a string and then where do we get the? It's not an int, right? It's another string.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you need the keys there, or can it do this?
I'm not sure because this is all I found. You know, maybe if I spend more time on it, but of course we could run Psalm to test it. But right now, let's assume this is just to help ourselves to understand what we're doing.
Yes,
So now we know what the steps.
so I was just trying to complete the refactor.
Yeah.
So you would now then in this bit you'd have many.
Yeah. So outputs is a list of those tuples.
Yeah. So how do we map a list? How do we map the many?
Well, we need to loop over it because we need to remember the previous one. Well, we could write it as a fault, but that's going to be a little bit trickier. So what if we just so it is map, right? That's still correct.
Well, we need to map at the end. We need to map to the step nodes, right?
Yes, but the argument, the output now, the type of output is a list of those tuples we just
Of this, yeah.
annotated.
Yeah.
Yeah, the output of that bit that you selected, that's going to be the output argument in our callback. So if you write the callback now inside map.
So that'll be the list. I see.
Yeah. So here $output is they're all here. Yeah, $output, we can annotate that. That will probably help because that's the. So yeah, can you add a doc block for that steps?
Mm-hmm. What is it?
So it's a var or Psalm var. And then that's an array of arrays, and the inner array is the one from line 88.
Am I doing? Sorry, wait. So it's not a parser; it's an array.
Yes.
An array.
And I'm not sure if this is still a legal. No, this is not exactly what we need. So it's the outer array. Make that just the square square brackets.
These ones?
No,
these ones.
Yes.
Ah.
Yeah, and then remove the first array keyword. No, the other one. Because because the outer one is a list of 0 or more, and the inner array is a tuple. Yeah. That's why the difference in notation here. Anyway, so I think this would be the correct way to express it in Psalm, but I'll test it after the.
So are we going to do a loop inside this map function?
Yeah, I think that would be the easiest, at least to get it working now. So it's
rather than a fold.
Well, if we do a fold, it's well, we could do it, but we'd still need another step to then, because we need to keep in the fold, we need to keep track of the previous value, yeah, and build up the new thing, and then there would be, after the fold, another cleanup step to extract the resulting list from it.
That's what I thought you would push towards. That we'd have this list of tuples, and then we'd modify the list of we'd change it to a new list of tuples with sort of normalized keywords, and then we'd map it to step nodes.
Yeah.
Is that too much? Is that over the top?
I don't know. It feels like it's going to be clumsy either way. So maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know. Like, the easiest thing to try seems to me a for each, and have like an init value that is given.
That's an array, right? Yeah. For each steps is step, and that's a. We're building an array that we're then going to return at the end, right?
Yeah.
Can map take a generator?
I imagine it could. I'm not sure why not.
Just because then we can yield each value as we go, rather than having to store them.
Sure.
Step node, and the keyword is the keyword. Oh, that's step 0.
Yep.
Step 1. This is where I need to look at this again. Keyword text arguments line keyword type. Keyword text arguments line, and the keyword type is so here we can just initialize it.
Yep. The number of times you've written Gherkin, one of those things where if you mistype it once, you mistype it forever.
I'm not even conscious of it. So in array, needle haystack. Needle haystack.
And the needle is the small thing.
Needle 0, right?
Yeah.
It is in the array. We take keyword type.
Yep.
Otherwise, we take step 0.
Yes, and we replace keyword type. The old. Oh, sorry, you did replace it already. Sorry. Yeah. Okay, and then that's our keyword type. So yeah, that seems all right to me.
The generator thing. Let's run the test. I feel like it's. Oh, the Zoom remote controls over the button. I imagine this means there's a typo in functions.php. But we'll find out. What? Oh no, this is all our stuff. What? Right. Someone's typed something that they shouldn't have. Yeah, that doesn't look right, does it? Try that again. Rewind the stream to see what.
Scenario notes. Are we using steps? Yeah, and then steps is
the yield.
Oh, I see.
It's not great. What we're doing. Smart idea probably isn't the best idea.
But isn't that simply your step? No, that's our, you're fixing in the wrong place. We have a test for step, which assumes a step node. So go to the failing tests, and you'll see what I mean.
Yeah.
So just click step test.
Yeah, I get it. I just don't think that.
So the expected here is a step node, but we changed the definition of step to just return the tuple, and that's why this test is failing.
Okay.
So we need, but it's correct that the test fails. So you need to change the test. We need to change your expected to array of then and bananas.
Right, let's go through it. So the empty one should be. What should the empty one be?
Given an empty string, I would imagine.
Mm-hmm. And we didn't write any tests for steps. Mm-hmm. So was that everything?
So let's see.
Mm-hmm. The empty feature test can die now.
That was like too easy.
We're not using any of that stuff anymore. So that all works. We're in a passing state.
Yeah.
Wow. This Doesn't feel great, but it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, well, replacing it with a fold would be one thing, but I don't really care. The fact that well, is there any point? So step is the dirty thing now, because you would expect it to return a step note, and now it doesn't, which is sort of not nice. But I think the solution is simply to not make step, because step as a standalone concept doesn't make sense anymore, because you cannot decide what a step is without context. So what I would do is simply move the implementation of step into steps and get rid of step as a public thing.
Right, so you're just thinking about that in terms of the...
Yeah, so this, and then the collect as well.
So you're thinking about that in terms of the sort of...
Yeah, so
it's like we're making it private.
yeah, we're making it private effectively. So well, you could still have well, yeah, or this works, or you could have $step and do it like that, but whatever works.
So what we're going to test instead?
Yeah, because now, of course, yeah, we're these tests are meaningless now, because we cannot. It's private now.
Do we want to add some tests for steps, or is that covered? It's kind of covered, isn't it?
Yeah, at least we have one test covering that. And I'm sure if we have more tests for other stuff, we well. So the question is, are there other scenario or other scenarios, not in the Gherkin sense, but are there other sort of cases that we need to write tests for that will, or are we confident that steps now works? So, for example, it would actually make sense now to have a test for a single and, etc.
Yeah, let's do what's to cover that. Let's cover the two simple cases that I can think of. So
why not just add feature files?
Because it feels edge casey rather than acceptance test.
Okay.
Yeah, why do I feel like that?
My assumption was that for anything we could come up with, we would just write the feature and the YAML file. Whereas you seem to be that only sort of the high level specification is in the feature files, and everything else is in. I'm fine with either. It's you know.
The things I think are important to include in the feature files are points of agreement in terms of functionality with non-technical people. And I think there were some edge cases where, like, for instance, on this sort of sad path we're talking about, it's kind of like, how do we cope with this edge case that the developers have identified or the testers have identified?
Right.
That really isn't how you should be using the tool anyway.
Right. Okay. But you want to support it in case, yeah.
It's the kind of
that makes sense.
If you had a human, it's a lot easier. If you had a product owner type person,
yeah,
it's a lot easier because they don't care. They say, I don't care.
Yeah.
So you don't put it in the feature file. They say, oh, just do something sensible.
Yeah, I think this is a perfectly reasonable heuristic. So I would I go with your way, and
yeah, that's the stuff I put in the micro
test. The acceptance tests are for humans, and the rest is for programmers.
Yeah, and it's like you know, Parsica has the parsable documentation. It's like, which bits would you put in the manual if you're explaining how it works? Which bits would you mention if you're explaining how it works?
Yeah.
And which bits are like, we had to have some default failure mode.
Yeah.
Let's do a quick test then. PHP test. Steps test.
Well, it doesn't exclude the method of using feature and YAML files. We just have to separate the ones that are acceptance tests and the ones that are edge cases. But
yeah, I mean,
I'm fine with just doing this.
Yeah, it's not really for a person, is it?
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, I mean the doesn't matter.
It would be quite valid.
I'm yak shaving.
Yeah. Okay. defaults and if it is the first. How do I test parsers again? Use parser annotations. So the input in this case is, and this is the first step, right?
Yeah, except we cannot test this anymore without. No, sorry, we have a steps. We have steps without scenario, right? So we can actually, our parser is just steps, and it should find one.
That's the expected.
Yeah, with a given. Or yeah, the and I forgot which one is which again. The last one is given, right?
Oh, yeah, I think I've got it memorized now. Gherkin.
Maybe we should just add Gherkin as a valid keyword.
Like referrer.
Well, the heuristic would be: is it something that humans care about, and then we have to decide if you're human, and then we can solve this.
If the first thing's an array, the second thing must be an array. We had this before, didn't we? We had this thing.
Yeah, we had that. We had that one. So this whole assert strictly equals is very like proof of concept-y code, and maybe I should just get rid of it and not worry about it at all.
Problem is, let's see, expected is an array, but the input isn't an array. So the output of this isn't an array.
Wait, the input doesn't, wait, expected is an array. So the output of steps is not an array right now. So let's look at steps, why it's not an array. Because it is a many, so it should be, but then, and then, yeah, because the generator thing, right? So
this isn't, the generator is a mistake.
Okay, then let's fix this.
Yeah. So step nodes starts off empty, gets added to. I need to track down the iterator to array we had to add in. So now.
Yep. Now I know your password. It's Gherkin.
You have to know how to spell Gherkin. Okay, so everything passes.
Okay, excellent. I think we need to commit some stuff.
I bet you use the IDE tools, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
We've changed the functions, that's fine. We added this scenario, that's fine. And we added that test. All looks good.
Well, something about the AND steps being yeah, but no, but yeah, but no, but yeah. Have you been talking to Marco Pivetta? Don't listen to him.
He never answered. He just dropped into the chat and then screamed and then.
I mean, it's on brand.
Okay.
All right.
I've got half an hour, 40 minutes.
Yeah, something like that. So what else do we care about here? Yeah, so we have a test for a
white space, translations, the arguments thing that I didn't really understand.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing, I guess. So let's so it's basically the new concept is a text line with arguments in it, right?
Yeah, and I need to check how the old code deals with it. So that's okay. Sets with arguments. So it's something like this. Given I have 3 bananas and I am called Coco the monkey. Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I probably need to make a YAML file. Okay. So there are 4 steps with arguments. Turn that off. And let's see what the diff looks like. Oh.
So it doesn't know at this point.
Hang on, which parser is this? Oh.
So is there like another processing step where it then looks at all the step nodes and figures out if the if it has arguments?
Let's look. Well, the thing that's throwing me a bit is that it is in the constructor.
Yeah, but we can't assume unless, you know, we can't assume that this is a proper immutable value object, right? So there might be.
And it does have a setter, but I would expect it to, if it's just a mutable object, I wouldn't expect it to be in the constructor at all.
Can you show me the whole interface of step node?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it wouldn't if you had designed this like in one step and not have to deal with backwards compatibility, etc. No, so step node itself, what kind of functions does that have?
I think there is a set argument. Get arguments, has arguments. You know what? I think this is an immutable object, but it might be copied using the getters somewhere.
Yeah. So can we find, if you do find usages on the constructor of this thing, we will find where Behat. Oh, okay. So bar step maybe there. Does it do something with arguments here?
Arguments aren't what I think.
Parse expression. I don't know. What's that?
Arguments are not what I think they are.
Okay.
Right. Yes. Okay. So forget all I was saying. It is something that's significant in the language. So step node arguments is going to be one of these things, an argument interface. And that is, yeah, it's the string, it's the multi-line strings or the tables. Those are arguments.
Okay. Because those are, okay, you pass them to a step and then that probably, I don't know how that works. Okay. So when
after the step.
Yeah. So where does the parsing of this text line happens then? Because at some point Behat needs to figure out that there's stuff in there.
Sorry, how do you mean?
Well, So you're saying that arguments are not what we thought we were, okay? But still, there's the tree and the name of the monkey. We somehow, so Behat somehow figures out that that's something different. So where does that happen? And it doesn't happen during parsing, then probably.
No, it's later when it generates the snippet. It'll be doing some regex. I don't think it's part of the parser.
Yeah, I mean it is a parser, but it's a separate parser. It's not part of the first. So there's a, which still means, I mean, we still need to. Well, actually, we don't need to figure it out to make Parsica work, but I want to see where it happens and how it's done actually. If
it'll just be in the generate snippets thing, which will be. Let me collapse this. Let me collapse this. No, I'm looking at the tests. That's why not everything's there. It'll be in Behat, not in Gherkin.
right.
Behat will literally be looking at the step and saying, okay, those bits are placeholders.
Yeah. So I think that's in the wrong place. Because the Gherkin parser that comes with Behat is, in my opinion, incomplete now because
No. You're overthinking. You've got a bigger picture of what these placeholders are. They're only used for generating step definitions. They're not used in matching. They're not really significant as part of what Gherkin is.
Okay, why not?
Because they're a mapping. What they use. The thing I was talking about. What happens is you can map from a step, which is part of Gherkin, to a pattern, right? That pattern in Behat can be a regex or a different format called a turnip pattern. Gherkin shouldn't be aware of those pattern expressions anyway. It's not part of Gherkin.
Okay. So for Gherkin, this is just a string. It is just a text line.
Yeah, I think so.
No matter what's in there. Okay. Well, sure. I mean, if that's how it works, then
the different thing is,
it will still break because our text line is not complete. But that's the next problem. So, and this is an argument. That's what you were saying earlier.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's the table thing.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know what to do next. That's going to fit.
Well, our text line is still incomplete. It's more of a small thing, but I think we only accept alphanumeric characters and spaces, and like this would probably fail.
It didn't fail, did it? It just got the wrong output. Yeah, there's no hard parser fails. Seems to be working.
Okay.
Let's check our one, actually. I clicked on the wrong one. Seems okay.
Okay.
So text.
Yeah, okay, we do have punctuations in there. Okay. That's why it does work.
Yeah.
All right.
Maybe think about empty lines. Is that a 30-minute job?
Yeah, let's try.
So let's make the fixture a. Delete that. I mean, really, we just want to be able to support that to start with. Because these aren't actually how you write.
Yeah.
How you write Gherkin normally. So let's make an explicit example that has maybe a comment in as well.
But if I recall correctly, we don't want to lose the comments. We want to put them. Do we want the comments to be printed when we re-render the Gherkin?
I think we decided that we don't re-render the Gherkin, but let me look at what happens here. Yeah, so in the example previously in the code base, the comments are captured in some places. That's interesting.
Yeah.
They're captured on a given, when, and then part of the text. So if they're a comment in the line, there's a bunch of places where they are actually captured. I guess that's to stop you accidentally using a hash as part of your input. And you can see the idea is not showing them as comments. It's showing this whole thing as part of the step. But all of these comments are being ignored, irrespective of case. Oh, well, that doesn't matter, does it? Doesn't matter if there's a space after the hash. Doesn't matter what white space is before the hash.
So basically any line, but so, and then this is stripped from, if we're,
Yes.
like if we run this on the console and it re-renders it would strip the comments.
It must.
So,
it either must do or it looks at the old file.
Yeah. So so a comment is now any line that starts with a hash, but nothing else.
But nothing else. Let's check. Is there anything in there where we would? Yeah, that's captured. Yeah, so it's only line that's. So we don't yet allow white space lines in various places. And if it's white space and then a hash and some other stuff, that counts as a white space line. So I feel like there's a concept is a white space line.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is in megaparsec documentation, they call this a space consumer, which you can set up as consuming different rules about what kind of space you ignore and what kind of comments you ignore.
Okay.
But I would still, so I would, what I would do is write some unit tests for just a standalone comment, a white space line that we ignore, and then the combination of that.
Yeah, let me just get a failing test here. Space lines, and this needs to be YAML. And then I had, oh, sorry. Why am I just slowing us down?
I'm not sure what you're doing, but
I just want to get the acceptance test in place.
Yeah, go ahead.
Our scenario on line 3 without any steps. And there's, because this is just to validate my understanding of what the old parser does. Scenario there. Okay. So we'll drop to the micro test level and write, what should we call it?
Oh, space consumer or something like that. That's the optional bit.
This is the bit where I need to set my test route properly. So what's the concept of a space consumer?
Well, so it's the combination of either a white space line in our case and a comment line. Let me just, there's a wasp inside. Let me try to get out. Yes.
So a consume an empty string, right?
Well, it could have spaces in it. Well, yeah, as a first unit test, that's fine, of course. But that's yeah. Go ahead.
So the input is this. So it doesn't really have an output, right? It just consumes.
Yeah, exactly. The output should be null.
How do you test that it consumed it?
Because you can test the remainder of the parser.
Okay. How do we do that?
In parser assertions, you need to import or use yeah, the trait.
Maybe that's not a good starting point. Maybe we'll have a space. It consumes white space line. Is this a line thing? Line-oriented thing?
It should end in a new line, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Or end of file.
Yes, but I think we've got that covered elsewhere.
Yeah, okay. So all these examples will have a new line at the end. So remainder?
Yeah. No, it's input.
Oh yeah, you do. What do you want to call the parser? Space consumer?
Yeah.
Never import language from someone else's model.
Yeah, that's the expected remainder. Yeah, I think. Yeah. But so if you want your test to be complete here, you would also do assert parses, and have null as the expected. Just keep the input is the same, but expected is null.
You have an assertion for both of those things at the same time.
Yeah. So this what we did now is basically test the whole thing that when we run the parser, we get output and we get a remainder. And so most of the time you don't actually need to test your remainder because you just want to test that you consume something and then you assume everything else just works. But for some of these cases you want this. Another way to write this would be to just manually write parser run, and then you get a result, and then out of that result you get the output and remainder and you test that.
So what's a way of, I'm just going to split it. What's a way of describing that it parses? It doesn't parse. It does parse.
That's what consume. So this is parser language, right? Consumption means we use it. We take it from the input, and then ignoring it means we don't put it in the output. So you could say it consumes and ignores white space. Or well, the other language I've been using is skip. Basically, it skips white space. Skip means it consumes it and it ignores it.
Okay. So this is failing. We'll put it near these. This feels like the utility area. It's going to return skip, is it?
No, wait, how to implement this, right? So it's actually skip h space. Well, the other way to do it,
Followed by UL.
yeah, I guess that would be the simplest. Let's just try it and see what works.
I kind of want to have the test here.
You need to import it.
Oh, so I did followed by. That's not right, is it?
Because you're keeping the new line. So you could just then ignore, for example, instead of followed by.
Okay.
So the alternative way would be to just write skip space and but no, that would keep consuming space across lines. So this is actually the more correct way in our case.
Stop, don't we? Yeah.
Yeah. Here we stop, and so we're going to do this many times. So that will be once we have a test for multiple lines of white space and comments.
Is that the next step?
Sure, why not?
Yeah. Yeah. So do we need to have many?
Yes,
Around
but
all
then
that?
it will, well, many will return an array of nulls. So this could be, let's try at least one, which would normally produce a string, but if it's nulls, they would probably remain null. So let's try that.
Like this?
Yeah. And actually 0 or more would also be legal, so.
Saying it.
Yeah, let's try 0 or more first. All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then comments.
So I'd say comment is a token because it might be surrounded by a white space, which we
don't care what's in the comment.
Yeah. Yeah, we could use token, but it doesn't matter. So it's any line that starts with skip space hash followed by everything until the end of line.
This is turning into a data provider type situation, isn't
it? You need a new line, right? Otherwise, it's yeah.
We're expecting this to fail. Do I have the expected and input the wrong way around?
No, it's fine. It's it's just because there's
yeah, because it hasn't consumed it.
Yeah, exactly. So we need to go into space consumer.
Okay. Yeah. It's the 0 or more that confused me. Okay. So it's 0 or more.
So we can have. Oh yeah, you want. Okay, now I see. You want to do it as a once. Yeah, I had it different in my head, but it's perfectly fine. So it's skip space, or the character, the hash character, followed by. Well, no, it's not skip space, or it's skip space. Make it yeah.
An optional comment bit here, right?
Yeah, so we could do it like that. So skip space followed by optional character hash. Followed by optional. I think there's
optional character followed by.
Well, you could do it doesn't. So we could do the then ignore, but we could just do that once at the end and just sort of ignore the whole thing. So let's. I'm trying to do too many things at the same time. So the hash character is optional, and it's followed by anything but an end of line.
Anything but?
I think so. No, I don't have that. Or any single but. Yeah, it's a bit messy. There's not good. There's not good language for this yet in Parsica, because we want to consume everything that is any. So, and only if it does have the followed by. Yeah, okay, the followed by is in the right place. It would help me if you use more new lines in this, because then we can see the structure better. So the 0 or more.
The horizontal.
Yeah, and then the followed by.
Optional chart.
Yes. And then we can, yeah. So the optional jar is followed by
this is inside
anything. Let's try if that works. If you just followed by anything. What I kind of need is like a consume until or something like that.
It's reminding me of what we did in text line, you know. Except that cares what's.
Yeah, this cares a lot, of course, but.
What?
Let me think. The way we did this in the let me just check some other code in the JSON parser. Because I feel like I've done this before. Yeah, there's what you could simply do is have any single but and then an end of line character.
What does the single mean here, though?
So any single means a single character. So this
is that going to
and that needs a many
inside a many.
Yeah. And this whole concept needs to be, better in Parsica. Or there should simply be a comment parser in Parsica, and where you can just say, well, these are accepted comments and these are not, or something like that. So that's optional. You need to import the optional probably.
Yeah, it seems like Gherkin's rules are different to what you'd expect in other languages, though. The fact that the comment at the end of the line
Yeah, there's only line comments and not inline comments or comments at the end of line, right?
Yeah.
So basically what you could do is now replace the then ignore by a followed by, and then just wrap the entire 0 or more in a, I think there's an ignore that you could use. No, there's not. How did I solve this for, let me see. Yeah, that's more low level. Well, the sort of low level way to do it would be followed by pure null. So in at the end of space consumer, yeah, just add followed by pure. Pure means take this value and return it as the output. So pure is a parser that will always return null and will not consume anything. And that's basically a way to inject output into something.
So the parser always if you've got followed by, that's what's being used as the parsed result.
Yeah. So the result of this entire thing is the last followed by.
Mm-hmm.
So everything before is now ignored, and the result of the last followed by here is going to be always null because of the pure. You need to import pure. And this is a concept from functional programming where pure means injecting something into a monadic sequence.
Okay. Ooh. Yeah.
So yeah, and I think it would make sense to have, because my confidence is low that this is fully correct. So having a bunch of acceptance tests with comments sprinkled around it would be good.
We haven't passed the first acceptance test yet.
Okay.
Because we haven't incorporated it into our parser.
Yeah, of course. Yes, that makes sense. So let's do that.
So that will be in in the where does that sit? Because the hierarchy is that we parse Gherkin, parses
Yeah.
feature.
So features can happen everywhere, right? So I mean, sorry, comments and new lines can happen everywhere. So we have a feature. I think the
you don't want to put maybe some white space, maybe some white space. You don't want to pepper it everywhere, do you? Or do
well,
you?
that's sort of that's what we did with the token parser is a way of peppering white space everywhere. So let's go back to that. So to token. So if you so because we're now really saying that a token is, instead of just skipping space, it's consume all our space, and our space consumer now is sort of the better version of skip h space, but only at the beginning, because we don't want. Let's see if that. Let's just try that. So replace the first skip h space with our space consumer.
I don't.
In 31. Line 31.
I understand. I'm thinking.
Oh, sorry.
But this is only ever, so token at the moment is only ever scoped to a single line. And you're saying,
yeah, but that's so we're saying that any line could be preceded by a bunch of new lines and comments, and we solve that by having. Oh, sorry. Token is, yeah, I get it now. What you're saying. But
actually, in terms of where we're using it, you're right that it. Yeah. So, for instance, here where we're using it in keyword, we're using it for given, space, and then text line. We don't want to allow new lines comments between given and the step, or between scenario and the scenario title. We don't want to allow new lines there or comments. Do you know what I mean?
No.
We're currently using token in keyword to say to isolate the keyword.
Okay.
To isolate this.
Yeah, and we want it on the whole thing. So we
don't want to let comments in there. That is meant to be on the same line.
Yes. Okay. I
Must be.
get you. So then it happens at the level of if we scroll down. That's a text line. Then there's a space consumer. So let's go to more feature.
Kind of
there's keyword text line. So you'd have to wrap it around the combination of keyword and text line. And you were asking if that was a concept, and we sort of said it wasn't yet, but maybe now it is, because I was still thinking about while we were thinking about the variables, etc. Right? But now we could say that this is a concept.
Yeah, like a keyword followed by some stuff.
Yeah, and now we're saying a keyword followed by stuff could be preceded by comments and new lines.
And actually, that works with what I was just saying, doesn't it? I was saying that sometimes there's a keyword that has to be followed by some stuff on the same line as an invariant. So having that as a concept.
Yeah. Okay. Now we're now I agree. So
keyword followed by text.
Sure, why not?
Change it later. Parser.
You need some braces.
Oh yeah. Return. So what does it do in these places? Oh, we're gonna have a. No, but you're.
We can solve so we don't actually need to change any other code if we make sure that the return type of our thing is still that. Oh, actually, no, we will have to fix that.
So it needs to take the keyword. Colon. That's it, right? And what will it return? It will return the collect of those two things.
Yeah, the annoying thing is that we're having a collect and a collect, so that would return an array and an array.
A way to sort of flatten it out.
Not really, except for adding another map.
Something like that'd be good.
Yeah, but I want to avoid rewriting all of writing a complete functional programming library inside Parsica. So the way to do it would be just a map, and inside that map do your flattening.
Yeah. So for now, we'd end up doing this sort of thing, right?
Yeah, which obviously I'm not a fan of.
If we did have a way of labeling these things,
yeah, then it would be a little bit more elegant. But yeah, you keep making the case for me building that, so I just need to build it.
This would be the collective keyword. Pass that stuff through. And text line. Is this now the only place using text line?
I'm sorry?
This might become the only place using text line.
Yeah, that's possible.
So here we do that. And then instead of 0, it'll be 0, 0. Wait.
Where's the text line going?
That's.
Is there?
Huh?
I think what happened is that you changed. Can you revert if you click on the blue box on the left on line 82? Revert that, and so it's 1 2 0. Okay, I know what. Yeah, it doesn't matter how it happened, but so it's now 0 1, yes, and 0 0. I guess no 0.
Yeah, keyword is 0 0.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, and scenario B something. Take out the text line. That looks cleaner. This isn't cleaner, but one would be 0 1. 0 would be 0 0. And output ones.
What would probably happen if you were to like do all of this from scratch is your AST would evolve along with your parser, and you'd end up with an AST that looks a lot more like your Gherkin, which now it doesn't really, because we're discovering concepts that exist in Gherkin that do not exist in the AST. So a scenario node, for example, could be composed of a keyword followed by text line concept and then the stuff inside, and you would have a bunch of maps and it would sort of compose itself. But
yeah, and maybe that's an artifact of the fact that it's a single step. It's a single parsing step. You know, the AST is directly consumed by Gherkin.
Yeah.
So the AST is kind of deliberately, well, maybe not as consciously. The AST probably shouldn't include that much detail, because then you're putting a lot of, parsing effort
maybe
into the test runner. Whereas having a second stage would make a lot of sense, wouldn't it? To have an AST that directly maps to the syntax and has all those syntax details in.
Yeah.
And then an intermediate, which is what Cucumber has, an intermediate step that then maps that into like an execution plan, test execution.
Yeah. So there's an AST for Gherkin and there's an AST for the test runner, basically.
Yeah, which they call a pickle.
Right, and then it converts between those. Yeah,
so
that makes sense.
The test runner doesn't know about even some of the keywords like background, things like this.
Yeah.
But then, as you mentioned earlier, when you display the Gherkin in the output, everything gets complicated.
Mm-hmm.
Everything becomes more complicated. So is that so this keyword so we can't. Let me just see if what I've done so far works. That refactoring I just did. It's good to run the test. Which data provider case is this?
You can see that in the left panel if you.
Thank you. Unexpected line feed, expecting end of file.
That's probably because there's some leftover white space at the end of this thing, and we're not accounting for that somehow. So I think if you remove line 8, it might pass.
That's an empty string line. Maybe we didn't test that.
No, that's not. It's line 2 actually. So if you see the error message says that on line 2.
That's what we're doing, isn't it?
Yeah. So I think wait. So line 2.
That's fine. We haven't built in the space consumer anywhere yet.
Right. Okay.
I was doing some, but the other one's passed. So this refactor, the keyword followed by text, did work. Keyword followed by text doesn't fit into the steps because we have this keywords followed by text. You know, potential keywords followed by text. Maybe that should always be the case, though.
I'm not sure what you mean.
Because I'm thinking ahead. I know that a scenario has a synonym example. So maybe this should always
be... so here, instead of passing a string, pass the parser. So make the type here parser that you have selected.
Yes.
And now remove, so replace the keyword function here with just the keyword variable in line 41. So select the whole, remove that, just keyword, remove the two arguments.
Mm-hmm.
And now everywhere that we call keyword followed by text, instead of parsing the string, we parse the keyword.
Yeah, okay.
So this is now the feature,
yeah, okay. Okay.
So now where we do the thing with the steps. So now this wait, that's collect choice. Wait, maybe maybe I've been too eager to fix this without thinking about it, because that doesn't solve the thing I thought I was solving.
I think the fundamental thing is for a particular keyword, there can be multiple allowed keywords. Like I know we're not thinking ahead to translate. There can be synonyms for some of the keywords.
Yeah.
Which might, and having that concept, that seems like the same thing as this concept. So what I was thinking of was maybe that being an array.
Yeah, that would.
Well, maybe that could even be a parser.
Yeah, so then you could pass so where we have now line 36 string keyword, make that keyword, and then as you suggested, make the other thing a parser. So here remove the string, yes, and 34 replace string by parser.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you were suggesting, right?
Yeah.
And now we can say this is a choice of strings.
So before we do that, what's the refactoring that gets me back to it working? I have to put, instead of keyword here, I need to pass.
Yeah, we might have been doing too much at the same time now.
Go back. This works, right? Let me check.
There's the other stuff that I changed, so.
Yeah, the first three work. Everything works.
Okay.
For the acceptance test, the keyword test is going to be broken. So what we're saying is that the keyword, maybe we don't need to. Maybe that could be keyword parser. Oh God.
I feel we're too deep into this.
What's the general concept here? It's that we can, instead of passing strings in these in places like this.
Yeah. So here, instead of passing strings, we could pass parsers.
Yeah, and in simple cases, that parser would be string feature, and in other cases, that would be one of.
Yeah, would be choice choice of string given when, then, and but.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
So we're sort of turning this this whole block here inside out, where instead of choice of keywords, it's keyword of choice.
Shall we do that next time?
Yeah. Okay.
Is it a bad place to stop?
No, it's fine. It's then we have something to start with next time, if we can remember what it is, of course. So we should probably have a note or.
Yeah. 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 Note to self. Working. Because it might be a couple of weeks before we come back to this.
Going on holiday?
Well, just scheduling. I can't remember what I'm doing next Wednesday. Idea. Key. Is to allow synonyms translations by passing a parser to does that make sense?
Wait, I lost my windows. It is to allow synonym translation by passing a parser to function like keyword rather than a string. That represents, yes, that makes sense to me.
What would the choice version look like? Choice?
Yeah, choice of string. Yeah, sorry, there's no off, but.
Oh, okay.
Maybe I should call it choice off.
Something like that, right?
Yeah. What would you prefer, choice string or choice off? Or both? I can have aliases.
I don't know why, but choice sounds binary and choice of doesn't. But I've got no reasoning behind that. I think
so your by the way, your example is now wrong because it's not choice string scenario example, it's choice string scenario or string example.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that.
And that being a parser makes a lot of sense if we do translations, right?
Yeah, because then you can have a parser that's smarter again.
It knows what state. Some little state could just be you can have a feature keyword parser. I think there's some naming problems that knows about state, but that's the only parser that's allowed to know what. Okay. Yeah. You're isolating what parsers are allowed to know about the state.
All right.
Well, thank you. Educational as always.
And fun as always.
Cool.
So yeah, let's figure out some dates then next time. And excellent. Kieran, Have a great day.
Thanks, Mattis. Thanks for watching, if anyone is.
There's a couple of people, I think. All right. See you.
Bye-bye.